Well, hi, good morning, and thanks so much for joining me here in my shop on June 23rd. Yes, 23rd. I got the date right now. Wasn't in my shop yesterday because the power company cut the power off to my house yesterday in a planned outage to, I think they were changing a transformer. I'm not sure what they were doing. Doing something anyway, so no power in the house yesterday morning. So I wasn't in here. I just want to put a, oh, this isn't easy to do. Not with the wires here. How do you put an elastic band on that? Huh. Okay, I have to think about that some more. It's more complicated than I thought. Okay, so today what I'm going to be doing with this radio is changing a few more capacitors. Hopefully one's a little easier to get at. And we'll see what effect it has on the radio, but frankly the radio's operation is really pretty good already. But before I do that, I just want to say something. If you are a Canadian like me, then I just want to make a couple comments about what we are doing in our country. First of all, we should all pat ourselves on the back. We've done a great thing with dealing with the situation here in Canada. I can't say the word, but you know what I'm talking about, of course. And all I can say is, as we get more and more mobile in our country now, we best not forsake the position we're in, which is a very good position, by relaxing our protective actions. This is a mistake I think that's easy to make. As our country gets more mobile, we start thinking it's time to relax the protections, but it's not. It's the opposite. Now is the time to always wear the mask, always wash the hands, always keep distance, always stay away from crowds. Now is the time to do that, because we can easily lose control of this thing. I'm sure you know that. And the next thing you know, by surprise, it will sneak its way back into our country and start hurting us all again. So we're down really low. Congratulations to all of us here in Canada. And but please, I'm asking directly, keep all the guards up. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. Now, about this radio. So there's some easy looking capacitors to go after. There's one here, one up here. There's this one, which looks to be in good shape, but who knows? And just a particular style of capacitor, this kind here, this ugly brown gunky looking one. I want to get rid of all those. So I'm looking, unfortunately, deep down inside there. No, I don't see any. I really don't. Unfortunately, let's take this off here for now. I was going to say, unfortunately, what? Yeah, there's one kind of tucked down in here. I don't know if you can really see that in the camera, but there's two of them here. But you know what? They don't look that bad. 1, 2, 3. Just 3 capacitors. Really, just 3. I'm just looking everywhere here, because they can be anywhere. Let's flip this up. Take a look underneath once again. I don't think there's any in there. Wait a minute, I think maybe I see one. Nope, that's just a... So you see in this radio, you see these plastic tubes here and there. There's one here, there's one here. Inside those tubes is some component. Let me just pull this back a little bit here. So inside here is probably a capacitor or a resistor. And we don't know what it is that's in there. So of course it could be one of those terrible capacitors. But I'm not going to go looking right now. I don't think so, because this radio is already working so well. I shouldn't be looking too hard for reasons why it's not working. Good. Okay, so I'm going to carry on, do those 3. Oh, wait a minute now. Let's just think about this. Just a sec. Maybe there's some fun here I'm going to miss if I'm not careful. So this one's up here on the output transformer, so you got to guess it has something to do with the sound coming out of the speaker itself. These two down here, both of them are going to this control here. One's going to the volume control, one's going to the tone control, and they appear to be on the center post of the the three potentiometer sliders on the center post. That's going to be the signal in or out. So those ones are carrying the audio signal. It was a little bit low, wasn't it? Didn't have to have the volume turned up a lot for FM. Okay, so it looks like they're all just audio capacitors. They can't really affect the reception quality, I don't think. I think it's all about the sound quality. Let me change them out. In fact, I'm going to keep the camera rolling here while I get this one off. This is the last two posts. See if I can remember that. .250 has a K written there in quotes. 0.01. Not sure what the K is. It certainly isn't K. It's not okay. Okay, so I gotta put that in there. We'll do the next ones. Oh, whoa. Let's test this guy. Okay, I'm not taking any bets on this because I think it's a sure thing. So, sorry, keep your money. Hold your money back. If somebody was to take a bet, I would bet lots of money that this is a terrible capacitor. It just looks horrible. The ends are popped out of it. The wax is all dried up. You wouldn't even know there was wax ever on it, if there ever was. Okay. Now, watching the eye. 50 volts. Good show. 50 volts, here we go. What's the eye do? Can't even open on 50 volts. So this is a bad, repeat it again, bad capacitor. That's good to get that one out of there. No surprise in that. Okay, 0.01. I will install it and then we'll go on to the next one. Okay, next two capacitors here. Let's see, there's one here. Okay, and the other one. So both of these look like they were installed and then somebody literally took their finger and just shoved them down there. That's what it looks like. Although I don't know that he used his finger. Pull this back up. A little resistor right in the way here. There we go. Hey, this one doesn't look so bad. Actually, both of these look pretty good. Be interesting to test those and see what the truth is. Okay, we'll nip the first one out here. Now I can't tell if this is the volume or the tone. It's a little rough on this end. They don't look perfect. I don't look perfect. This is ERO 100, 0.01, 250 DC, 100 AC. And it's got a K in quotes here, which I tried to find out what that is. There's a little K there, followed by the W. I don't know. Kilowatts? Sometimes it'd be working volts. No, nothing works there. 1,000? I don't know what the K is. 0.01. Okay, so I'm putting in these blue disc capacitors into this radio. Okay, so I think I'm going to put this one in and then we'll go after the other one. Okay, that one's in. You know, I'm kind of hoping these disc capacitors don't turn out to be bad actors in here. Because the way they're constructed, maybe they're more sensitive to picking up noise in the radio, signals in the radio. I don't know. Well, that's kind of interesting. There's a blob of solder right there. And this one looks newer than the rest. Well, it doesn't really look newer, it looks better than the rest. Not sure what to make of that. This guy got replaced? That just doesn't seem likely. Nothing's been replaced in here. Okay, so let's check this one out because and it's a .01, 500, 220. It's a bit of a different rating from this one. Yeah, it's a little bigger. That's a 100, this is a 220. Doesn't really matter because the capacitors I install are always sufficient for use in these radios. They're all 600 volt capacitors. Except that last radio had 1000 volt capacitors in it. Ooh. Okay, what can you do with 50 volts? Watching the eye here. You can do nothing. You can do nothing. You're a dead, crummy dog. Wow, isn't that really surprising? Not one bit. Now I gotta get another one of these capacitors. Thought I had it out here. Okay, another blue capacitor and stick them in there, and then I think it's time to try the radio again. So just thinking a little more about what I just said about these capacitors maybe being sensitive to picking up signals because they're not... oh! There's a part. Oh my gosh. That's what the solder's for. Oh, I could have figured that out if I thought hard enough. And you know what? There's another capacitor down there. Oh no. Way down there. And it looks again like somebody installed it and it just rammed it down there with their finger. Oh my gosh. How am I going to get at that? What am I going to do about this now? I have to replace this little resistor. I've cut the lead right off on it. Duh. Duh, 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 duh. Okay. Okay. Okay, and what do I do about that lower one? Oh my gosh. Can you even see it? You can't even see it in there. See it way down there? It looks different than the others. You know what? I think it's a different type. If it's anything I can leave there, that's what I want to do. I don't think it's the same type. No, it's not the same type. Okay, we're leaving that one. Now this looks like red, orange. 22K. Very, very tiny resistor. Okay, 22K. I better look on the schematic because I think I can actually see 3 bands in here. I don't know what it is for sure. So let's find out what's going on here. So I can see the other terminal of the capacitor I cut connects the center terminal of one pot to the one of the outside terminals of the other pot, because there's 2 pots here lined up. That's the hint. That's the hint. Okay, so let's go take a look at the schematic here. Okay, so I think those capacitors would appear here somewhere up in this area. So I said volume control. Volume, here's where? Here's the volume control, here's the tone control. So here's the center connected to one leg, but there's a capacitor in here. That's not what I saw. I saw, here it is. From the center of this control tied directly here. So this terminal then, it's this capacitor we're looking at. And it's this resistor. R37, 22K. Okay, I got it right, 22K. So I'll replace that. And 0.01, and then the other capacitor. Didn't they label it here? Way down here. So that's the one I'm going to leave. 33 on this. Well, when I cut it out, I guess I'll take a look at it. I did cut it out. It was a 0.01. Where's that coming from? I must be in the wrong spot here. I must have the wrong spot. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, it could be in the wrong spot. Maybe it's this one up here. It's probably this one. Yeah. Coming off the center. Yes, they're both coming off the center. So it's that one, 0.01. Okay. So you can see I put in the new 22K, but it's a big fat guy because I have a lot of these. I have a lot of these 22K resistors. So I'm using them up. Get the capacitor to go down to this wire here with some covering on it. Let me just shorten up the covering a little bit. That's a poor attempt at roughing up the end of that wire a little bit. Okay, let me trim back the capacitor here. Did I finish my statement about why I shouldn't probably worry about these capacitors picking up interference? It's because they're in the audio circuits. Ooh, I shortened that a lot. A little carried away there, Jim. Oh my gosh. I shortened it too much. That's because I was talking at the same time I was... Yeah. I was talking at the same time. Let's try another one. Stick with the blue ones here. Okay, don't be so overboard at cutting these. Of course, you know, it's best to keep lead length short, but again, we're in the audio circuits here, so I don't think it's that critical a matter. Hey, don't be so shaky. I'm a little shaky today. Must be all the excitement. What excitement? Just the excitement of life. I'm going to end up lapping that one. That's not going to be very good. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to get this very well. So, I don't think it's going to be mechanically sound here. What I'm going to solder that just like that. I don't know. Seems all right. Not quite as neat as the original, but there we are. Okay, now let's give this guy a go. So that could be the end of the capacitor changeout in this radio. The rest of them are, oh, we'll see if the radio works well. If it works well, it's just not worth going in there and messing everything up. Stuff like this guy, he's probably good. This one I'm gonna guess is okay. Why so big? 0.1, so it's a 0.15, so it's a big capacitor. 0.15, what are they doing with a 0.15? Stop looking, Jim, you're finding more capacitors. Here's one here. But this again is another style. It's not the same as the ones I've been replacing. 100 picofarad. Yeah, there's a little tiny ones. I don't know if you can see them down there where I'm pointing. No, not at all. Like, look at that. I'm leaving all those. And, you know, they could be bad too. But what I've really done is I've just cleaned out the crap on a radio that worked with the crap. Speaker in. Well, it didn't actually work all that well, did it? The FM was terrible. We'll see if I correct it. You know, there's a good chance I've corrected the low volume by doing these two capacitors. Talking about which, volume down. Let's lift this up. Off. We're starting from off. We're plugged in. Yep, and we have an FM antenna of a sort. Okay, we're ready. Here we go. Okay, in through the dim bulbs. There we go. Just perfect. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Good. Turn it up a bit. That's not so good. It's really not so good. Oh, there it is. Not a lot of volume. So where am I? I'm on AM. That's my soldering iron. Oh yeah, yesterday when the power was off. The power was off in my house for a couple hours, and during that time, just for a few minutes, I grabbed a shortwave radio, ran around my house, battery operated radio. I didn't have to run around the house even. Turned it on, and all those horrid noises gone. It's not just my house that was out of power. It was a whole string of houses here on my block. So everybody was silent. What a difference.
Fathers and sons go to the ballpark and watching these games. And you
highly directional antenna.
Have a cold beer in the sun and sit outside.
What's happening here is I'm not aiming the radio at the station. I'm aiming the radio so the null is pointed at the noise source.
Matt, the biggest
that's what's happening here.
Football trying to ramp up into its season.
Well, that's really, really good.
Outside of the few markets that are involved here, especially now that there's a limited playoffs, and this just seems like there's going to be.
So when I turn the tone control, the volume control travels with it. So let me hold the volume.
Next labor negotiation, and that
beautiful.
The damage to baseball.
Oh, that's a wide-ranging tone control.
Considering that the damage is not yet done. Like we're still.
How come this is so low? This is hardly moving. It's a strong noise signal. You can't tell from the volume of the noise how strong the carrier part of the noise is. This radio goes really quiet in between the stations, and that's what the volume turned up pretty high. That's full. So something's not quite right yet. So it could be alignment. Now we're going to shoot for the French station here around 860. Whoops. There he is.
Ces illustrations, mais aussi de demander aux lecteurs de faire le petit effort supplémentaire.
So So in this case, I'm aiming the antenna at the station. I can see the peak is not as sharp as the null. Theoretically, that's the case. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Now, for the fun part, let's check the FM side of things. Okay. Look at that. What happened there? Oh.
And it was observed in like 90% of the population, we'd have a much better chance. But masks really need to be kept because coronavirus is not packing its bags and going away for the summer. It is absolutely here all the time. In any situation that you go into, there's potential coronavirus.
Craig, given that, why do you think we're seeing more new infections among young adults? I mean, Stephen sketched out the scene at his bar, and Judith's talking a little bit about how we're all behaving. What do you see?
It's fading out.
Sure, so one is absolutely the
What was that?
need to get out, need to shake off the isolation, and that's the unfortunate one. But I think there are a few things that are perhaps more difficult to control. I think in general, without trying to paint everybody with one brush, but younger people tend to have a little less financial security, and there's higher motivation to get back into the workforce.
Something going on here.
Doing jobs where
got louder.
office jobs where physical separation is easy.
Okay, let's see if we can figure that one out. I'm going to wiggle the tubes.
They're going back to work into the kind of workplace where you can spread the virus. And then adding to that is then the social aspects. So if they acquire the virus at work, then they become these agents of viral spread in the leisure activities later. I think it really boils down to...
Well, fill with the capacitors I put in.
Indestructible for the most part. We keep hearing that this virus is killing older people and younger people have mild disease, and they really tend to forget they are also then the vector that gives to the at-risk population.
What
so
was
in
that?
Judith, how do you go about creating a message that's going to speak to that generation that isn't going to sound like, finger wagging? Don't go out,
So
don't
I
do,
put my finger on that
ringing and
capacitor.
stigmatizing,
A hum comes out of the
minds
speaker.
who get all
So
sorts
these
of heat for,
capacitors of this style, they're sensitive to whatever else is out here in the world.
Thing that perhaps they could dismiss if the messaging isn't correct.
Over
So
here.
how do you create a message that's
Just
going to
on this
resonate
one.
with them?
You need to
But that's not the cause of my problems here.
From the reservoir of disease.
Because they're a real
to
problem.
Keep it down for everybody. What everyone is saying here is that of the indestructible perception of youth, but
Checking for dirt in the volume control. Volume's behaving funny too. It comes up, up. You start to hear it. Not much more, and then
But you're going to bring that
right in
disease
here,
and increase the.
it really takes
burden of
off. Right?
disease
So that's kind of a weird thing.
as a whole. So the messaging is difficult when we had constantly on the news.
Now, I think she's on a
sirens
telephone
and
line,
you
so
had
her voice
people being
doesn't sound
carried
quite
out
as
in
good as the
stretchers
studio
and
voice.
People going out in body bags out of the hospital. Okay, everybody's terrified. Now the sun's out. People aren't dying as much. We did a really good job with people 60 and older. They listen to the message. Stay home. Wear a mask. Be careful. Use social distancing. But that was the mistake at the very beginning, is that the targeted group for messaging was 60 and older and people with comorbid conditions. Coronavirus is an equal opportunity disease. It does not discriminate, and it does not only affect those that could die. It affects everybody. We have cases in children, and they can have very bad outcomes. We have cases in a 20-something person that got a double lung transplant because their lungs were fried by coronavirus. So it's just real hard when people's cortisol levels have been so high because everybody is freaked out and everybody's terrified. Your body can only handle that so much.
It's like fatigue.
Okay, we've all heard an awful lot about that. I'm not going to let that play more, but she mentioned cortisol. Cortisol. So when you're under stress and strain, cortisol builds up in your system and your behavior starts going off. Cortisol makes you more aggressive, makes you more angry, makes you more want to do something to fix the situation you're in that's generating the cortisol in the first place, which is generated by tension, fright, and things like that. when you're working on this, is what I'm talking about. When you're working on a radio like this, and you start getting into the frustrations, or working on anything, or just anything at all, when you meet up with the frustrations and they get a little heavy, the cortisol starts going up in your body. And it's a kind of a downhill trip, and you've all experienced this. We've all experienced this. You get progressively more and more upset until finally you're throwing stuff at the radio in this case, or whatever. You need to control your cortisol level. We live in a world where there's constant demand for cortisol in our systems, and we have to do something to stop that. And part of it is, for me, is doing this work as long as I don't get upset. If I'm getting upset, I stop, because the whole objective is to whole objective is to fix the radio, but I'm trying to not ruin myself at the same time. So, little lesson to all you guys and girls who are doing this work: when you run into frustrations, oh my God, look at this. Okay, never mind what I was saying.
We see that transit as a preventative measure.
What happened there?
Also, just if we have
I'm not
to
touching
begin to
anything.
close bars back down,
This is not
or
good.
limit hours, that will unfortunately send a
This is
strong
not good.
message that we are no longer doing a good enough job, and that we have to probably change our behavior.
Just
So
briefly,
that was the
I'll ask you about
ABC
this. What
voltage
worries you
going
most about
super
what we're
high.
seeing right now? Part of it is an economic thing, but
So that can
it
happen
seems
for
like
a
we're
couple
not
of
even out
reasons.
of the first wave.
One is an oscillation can occur in the radio, generating a heavy signal coming out of the IF, generating a heavy ABC voltage showing up on here. Usually, though, you hear a lot of stuff come out of the speaker. Stuff like that's happening. Gee, I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, there's a long list of things. You can just imagine all kinds of stuff that might cause that. The first test is the pound test. Okay, pass that test. So in a situation like this, with a intermittent problem, usually what I do is I try to carry on and keep an eye on it, and hopefully some hint will appear as I do more work on the radio as to what is causing this intermittent problem. Because I haven't really got a clue what would do that. The radio went quiet. The ABC voltage came way up and the radio went quiet. That makes sense. The ABC voltage that high. Well, how high? How high? It was the proper height. It was closing this. It didn't do anything terrible to it. It just closed it the way you would expect. Maybe the radio started working properly there. Maybe that's what that was. Maybe this is bad. And what we saw was good. Except the radio went quiet. It's these push buttons. Push buttons often cause problems on these radios. It doesn't look like it, does it?
Coronavirus, as I said, is a person-to-person transmission. It lives in heat vents. The ubiquitous heat vents are going to have a problem. I am very much in favor of, especially in the cities, everybody.
Let's just give it a little bit of a stick test here, too.
Well, it's good to speak with you both. We'll leave it there, but I appreciate
I
you.
don't think it's going to lead to anything.
Thank you, bye-bye.
It's worth doing.
Is an epidemiologist at the University of Washington. Craig Jenny.
I'm going to do the brush test. Oh, that's got a metal piece on it. Okay, I'll use the brush handle test.
The current on CBC Radio.
And watch the eye.
I'm Matt Galloway. You're talking about the message.
Just lightly touching things. I'm not trying to really bend anything or move anything.
Officials have taken on near heroic status. You think of Dr. Bonnie Henry in British Columbia. She's her photo plastered.
Bingo. Bingo. Hit something there.
In the United States, some public
Okay, what is it? Let's get a camera on this and get a closer look right up in there.
Good morning.
What sort of threats are public health officials dealing with in your region?
Anything from personal slander and property damage to starting a civil war with hot shooting guns.
Starting a civil war with hot shooting guns.
Yes.
How many of your staff have been
Who's he talking to?
So I represent the 53 county health departments in the state of Colorado,
Oh.
and in a poll that we did,
Okay,
in
it's American.
May,
Okay.
the folks on that call, 80% of them have reported that they themselves, their staff, and their health agency or their property had been physically threatened.
What is the effect of that on you and on your staff?
I will tell you that it is extremely demoralizing. It is stressful as far as the concern for one's own safety, for the safety of the people that you work with, particularly in the state of Colorado, where 2/3 of our counties are either
Getting louder?
rural or frontier. We like to joke that there are more cows than there are people. When it's your neighbors making these threats, and very publicly making these threats on social media or in public meetings, I can't imagine that the feeling of stress that those individuals experience, simply because they have to go to the grocery store and their kids may play sports or go to elementary school with these people's children that are making these threats to them.
Why are people being threatened with property damage or starting a civil war? Because they're delivering information about a public health crisis.
I think that we are starting to see the folks really coming out about their civil liberties and their rights to not be told what to do by government. A number of the posts that I've seen or the information that I've received from my members, the folks that are making the claims are actually attributing it to government overreach, and that the public health directors don't have the legal authority or aren't elected and don't have the power to make these decisions. But the case is actually the opposite.
You've said that some politicians are in some ways pitting public health against freedom.
Yes, I would say that is exactly how I would characterize this. Unfortunately, when it comes down to making decisions, public health directors are advisors in these roles that they serve, and they are basing their information and their advice on evidence and science and what we know about a very new disease. And sometimes that is not what people want to hear, and then we have to take into account
Time to
that
grow up.
elected officials have a role in decision making, and occasionally those two collide because the public health directors are really interested in preserving the health of the communities that they serve, and elected officials are trying to maintain the economy and other factors within their communities.
What could this mean if these threats continue? And I'm assuming if you get threatened enough, eventually you're going to leave your job. What could this mean in terms of the fight?
The indicator's gone high the whole time. Ever since I bumped whatever I bumped there, this went high.
In the state of Colorado alone, 6 individuals leave their post. One was actually terminated from their post. And we are.
Well, I'm going to take a guess that I banged this tube, and the tube reset things.
In this country for decades, and
I don't know.
the pool of
Something happened.
to fill these very
Thumbs up, though.
top-level director positions is not deep. It's not as if we have a bunch.
Just, you know, if you're Canadian, you know what I'm going to say. If you're American, remember, us Canadians up here, 37 million of us, watch everything that goes on in the United States. We can't help it. It's put right in our faces all the time. We are just beside ourselves in this country, wondering what is happening in the country south of us. It's night and day. Oh my gosh. Okay, I won't get into it. It's hard not to. I don't want to get into it. Don't get into it, Jim. Well, here we are. I think we're at the stage now where all that's really left in this radio is alignment, which is a bit of a hairy deal. Certainly in terms of IF alignment. I wouldn't want to fool with the FM alignment. It's also all waxed up, I can see. The only thing I'm really left with to fiddle with is the capacitors. Looks like they're associated, each one's associated with a coil here. There's a couple of capacitors in here. They don't appear to be locked down or frozen in place or anything. But I hope I got that on camera. So, you know what really the next thing is? Find out if this radio works well. It seems to. Why don't we do that? We'll do that. We'll end the video with, does this radio actually work well? So first, we're on FM, I might as well stay there. Oh, news time.
From CBC Toronto, it is cloudy and 22 degrees at the moment.
Just listen to
High
this.
today,
Listen to her
25,
voice, how
chance of
clear it
showers
is. And
and thunderstorms this afternoon and this evening.
change this.
Beijing is leveling more criticism at Ottawa today over the detention of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou. It is the latest round in the war of words between Canada and China over the detention and charges against Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. The United States president is banning some foreign workers for the rest of the year. Green cards will not be issued outside of the U.S., and many temporary work visas will be frozen. Business leaders oppose the move, saying technology...
Oh my God.
By the way, music does
Yeah,
two
they're all coming to
things.
Canada to work here.
It's a consolation, it's a source of joy.
America's loss is Canada's gain. And we have a society that's not hopped up over having people come from other countries here. I mean, that's what Canada is. Canada's a pile of people. I'm Finnish, for crying out loud. I'm actually Swedish. But that makes me Canadian. Trying my best not to get political here. It's really tough. So I'm familiar with the station I'm tuning right now. That's a bit of a weak thing, but look at the antenna I've got. Just a piece of wire back here. It's nothing special. The antenna that's built for this radio may work a lot better. That's good. Look at that. Lots of signal. Whatever I bumped into.
Our series of
That's something. Once again, I fixed a radio with a stick. Amazing. I fixed radios with threats. Just threatening them has fixed them. So, yeah.
Canada to the other are listening. They are sharing with us that there's been changes in their lives. The website's Lighthouse Pentecostal Church, Halliburton.
To have your church interviewed on the next Church Connection, call toll-free 866-73...
It's actually a religious-based FM station here. Pretty unusual in Canada, I think. But at least this part of Canada.
Only in CTV. Clouds with showers by noon, risk of a late day storm, a high of 25, feeling like 33 with the humidex. Tonight, the showers will taper off overnight.
Gotta hear the weather.
We'll get a break in the humidity.
Break in the humidity. Good. That's the end of the road. Okay, so the FM's not bad. You know, you're not going to listen to a weak station. Well, if you're going to listen to it, you're going to tune in something local, something strong. Let's go through the AM stations here. We already did this, but I want to watch what happens here. Oh, look at that.
It's the upfront, and what that means is it's a day that Global reveals.
You've seen when I get bug bites, it's like the way it acts with me is just welts that don't go away.
So again, something like
yeah, I feel your pain, solidarity with our
I
pale
think it would go up a lot higher. Huh? So again, one thing about these radios with the stick antennas, and most radios have this, you bring a radio like this into your home and you put it where you want it. It looks beautiful where you have it. You don't realize the antenna null is right at the station you want. Turn the radio on, can't find the station. Can't find the station. That's because the radio's in the wrong angle. And I suspect people have never figured this out who don't, not radio people. My radio doesn't work. Shortwave 2. Shortwave 2 is where? There it is. Shortwave 2 is the lower band. So we'll run through it. We might hear something up here. Especially if I hook up an antenna. I've got to do that. Let's hook up an antenna here. It's this one. Oh. That's the antenna, all right. And I'm pretty sure I have the switch turned off to this antenna. So I'm going to go and throw it. Everybody stay put. Okay, just take me a second here. thinking about making a video about the great success I've had with my outdoor antennas in the last week. So let's see. Did that get louder? I don't know. I wasn't in here. You can see the noise signals. They're not modulated, so you can't really hear them, but they're there. Where'd everybody go? Oh, shortwave. No ways here. What am I doing? Way up here. Way up here. Come on, Jim. I think these sounds are local interference in my house. I might get something right up here. Some ham radio guys, or no. That's 7 megahertz. We're just above. And the answer is no. Okay, so we'll go to shortwave 1. Hey, numbered these backwards. Runs from 7, where we are now, up to 20. But I'm at this end, so we're starting at 20 and coming down. Might get something around here. What is that? So I don't know what that was, but I know what this is. Gotta get this in the right spot. Maybe not. Oh yeah. What if I put the ground on? A little better. Almost no movement in the eye. The volume is turned way high. I'm compensating for something that's wrong in the radio here. So it's not getting much signal out of the IF according to the eye. When I just turn the volume way up, I kind of compensate for it. So there's something amiss here. Probably an alignment issue.
We all need. So that's fewer people. That is UN Agenda 21, UN Agenda 2030, whatever agendas you want to refer to, the Sustainable Development Agenda, all of the adopted.
It's very, very quiet in between stations. It's another indication that very little is coming out of the IF.
City in your state, bar by climate.
Tough radio to tune. Small knob. What is that? The way it starts, suddenly, it almost sounds like it's some kind of oscillation in here. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what it could be. I know what it could be. It could be this. Nope. Nope, not that. I pulled out a power supply beside me here that I know generates noise. There's a noise to be everywhere. Somebody's shooting a Gatling gun somewhere. So, you know, we're getting stuff. I'm not comparing it to another radio here. Where are we on the frequency? We're down around 11 now. Getting down around 11. This should be pretty good. It could be pretty good. Tricky radio to tune for sure. Just dropped right out. The volume's full now. It's coming back. Not really. Wow, it's hard to tune, boy. So it's got to be in the 11 megahertz band. So there's 10 megahertz. A bit surprising in picking it up. can look at the dial now and see how accurate it is. So 10 is, this must be 10, the dot must be 1050. Is that how this is working? So there's a dot right there that doesn't, and there's another one right here. These are probably the alignment dots. Recommended location for doing alignment work. But these dots, you got to be, well, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 10, 10, what happened here? If you notice, they really aren't helping you get the pointer dead on. You know, here, like here's the number 9, but there's no dot mark where 9 actually is. That's because they know this radio is just not that precise. It's just never gonna get there. But you can certainly get an idea where you are. You know, 11 megahertz. We're coming into 9 now, so we should pick up some stuff here. Oh, I know what this is. We're going to talk about this stage. I'm pretty sure this is 9.330. If it's not, what I'm going to say applies to 9.330. That's by far the strongest shortwave station I pick up almost every day. Here it is. I'm sure we're listening to it. Way stronger than anything else, to the point where it's overloading my radios. Especially the SDR radio. I use an SDR radio, cheapo SDR radio. Terrible for doing serious shortwave listening. Terrible thing. But for having fun, it's lots of fun, but terrible. The overloading on that is hugely consequential. I just realized I've been running this radio with 105 volts all this time. I don't know if you can see it there. That's a little low. Let's give it the works here. Here we go. Volume, maybe that's why the volume's been low. You can see the light getting a lot brighter. There's definitely more volume here. Definitely more volume. This is hardly going up. So I think even though this is sounding really good and the volume's not up very high, the radio is still behaving weakly. It's just got a hugely strong signal pumped into it. I guess the last point I would make is I believe, and I could be easily wrong about this, a tube radio can sustain very heavy or strong signals from an antenna much better than a transistorized radio can. Now, maybe I should eat those words. Obviously, it's going to depend on, you know, which radio and the like. Oh, what was that? That didn't sound good. That was a snap. Has something to do with tuning? No. Where are we now? We're down around. Well, there's nothing in here. You know, airplanes. But we're not going to be able to hear an airplane on here. That's right. Airplanes are on short wave if they're flying over the ocean. Did you know that? It's really, if you're a short wave guy and you don't realize that, you should know that. If you are lucky, I'm pretty lucky here in the afternoons, I can pick up air traffic control coming from Gander, Newfoundland, controlling planes flying out over the Atlantic Ocean. And occasionally I can hear the planes too. I can hear both sides of the conversation. And it's pretty interesting because they're using crappy fading in and out shortwave radio to talk to airplanes, you know, loaded with hundreds of people flying out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's surprising. You'd think, oh my God, they must do it through satellites, and I'm sure someday they will. But at this point, it's still shortwave radio. So if you get on the internet, type ATC Atlantic or something like that, you'll eventually find the list of frequencies that are used. They use different frequencies depending upon the conditions, like I think 88.12 would be in the area we're in here. There's a whole bunch of them. And then there's also different air traffic control centers you can try to pick up. There's air traffic control at Gander, Newfoundland. There's one in somewhere in the middle East Coast states, and then there's Schwanwick on the other side of the ocean, which I don't think we can normally pick up, but it's out there. So during the day there's not a lot to hear sometimes on shortwave, but you fish out these airlines. If you manage to do it and get it tuned in so you can listen to it, I think they're single sideband. I think they're single sideband also. Pretty interesting to listen to. Okay, that's not so interesting to listen to me talk. So I think I'm done here. Yeah, here. So what's left on this radio now is obviously the cleanup sort of stuff, cleaning the front and all that. The alignment deal, maybe in next video I'll experiment a bit and try to make a decision as to whether it's worth trying to align it. There seems to be a lot of indications that it's weak. Unfortunately, the weakness appears to be coming from the IF, but it could also be the signal going into the IF, and it could even be the strength of the local oscillator. The local oscillator may be weak. That will weaken the whole radio too. So still lots of stuff to kind of poke around with, but even if I don't make any more changes to this radio, yeah, I think it's in pretty good shape now. Great. So thanks a lot for watching. And it's a rainy, gray day here today. That's why I'm in the shop. It's going to be that way all day. So have a good day.